back to the YouTube channel of Pro Enzo Vid, and this is the start of each 17 NRL clubs' 2023 season preview. So obviously I kick off with the Brisbane Broncos it's in alphabetical order, and yeah, it's February 1st already, so like literally another month till the NRL starts again. And only this week there's a trial happening, and the week after is NRL trials officially all start. So the footy season's coming. It's not far now, and it's gonna be fantastic. I'm getting excited. But yeah, look, it's gonna be a good season ahead, and this is just where I start now with my season previews for the each 17 clubs head for the NRL 2023 season. Before I do start though, I'd like to say that thank you to the new subscribers recently. I've seen that my channel has gotten a couple of new subs and new new support, I guess, and it's really appreciated by myself, and it's great for the channel to benefit in that way by having all these new subs and new support, because I love it. It's just great to see that what I'm uploading and doing is pleasing the fans and subscribers. So make sure to subscribe if you are watching the channel right now. But without further ado, I will get into the Broncos 2023 season preview. So, so this is the first time I'm bringing previews back, because in 2022 I had none. I don't know why I didn't start doing it then, but yeah, I didn't do it for some reason. But in 2021, that's the last time I did season previews, and they were pretty successful. So I'm more than happy to bring them back. So this is the first one. So basically how it works is, just so everyone knows how it works from each of where I do talk about some particular things of the club. So obviously the first one will be my best 17 on paper, so not what I think will happen or the coach will pick will happen. It's just what I would pick personally. And then after that, I will talk about the club's strengths and weaknesses, and then I'll talk about the key player that needs to step up and who needs to have a big year. And then I give sort of my bold prediction about where they'll finish and what happens. And then the other one is that it's a new one from a couple of years ago, but yeah, this is a new sort of thing I added to the previews. I give my top 5 games I'm looking forward to for the club in this coming season. So without further ado, let's get into the Broncos 2023 season preview. Right, so my best 1 to 17 Brisbane Broncos side would probably be like something like this. So not too different to what I think the club will select as their round 1 team, but I think in general what I'd select is not far off being the same. But this is my Broncos team. So fullback, Reece Walsh. Number 2, Corey Oates, or the wingers I should say is Corey Oates and Selwyn Cobbo. The centres are Tony Staggs and Herbie Farnworth. The halves are Ezra Mam and Captain Adam Reynolds. The props are Tom Flegler and Payne Haas. The hooker, for me, will be Blake Moser. I think he should be the hooker in my opinion. And then the back rows are Jordan Ricky and Kurt Capel, and lock Patrick Carrigan. Then off the bench, I've got jersey number 14, Corey Pakes, Kobe Hetherington, Manta Powell, and Corey Jensen. So that there is my best 1 to 17 Broncos side. I guess you can add Ken and Palacia over to Powell. Wouldn't blame anyone who does that, but I think they'll probably pick Marty just based on, they won't drop into reserve grade to start the year, like let's be real, and I think they will pick him there, so I probably would as well. But yeah, Palacia would have to have some sort of consideration to be in that team, but we'll see what they do. Look, I think Blake Moser is a real talent, a hooker. Like, I've obviously seen some good things about him, and I think he's got a bit more to give than what Billy Walters does, and that's a concern for me. Like, I think the Broncos' hooker position is a bit of a concern, but I predict that Blake Moser will probably come in and silly spot mid-season, or even Corey Pakes if he performs. So we'll see what Kevy does there, but for now, I think that's my best 1 to 17 Broncos side. Now onto the Broncos' strengths of 2023, and I think some of their strengths are probably a good forward pack. So that's a pretty obvious one in my opinion. Having guys like Carrigan, Flegler, Haas, Capewell and Ricky on his day can be good, but just needs to fix his defence a bit. But outside, I guess, a weak hooker, it's a pretty good looking forward pack, I think. And that's a forward pack that can definitely challenge for the finals for sure. Like I can't not. There's no reason why this forward pack can't push some of the best in the comp. So I think if it plays to its potential, then it's a freakish forward pack. I guess another strength is that they've really built a good back five. Like their back five is really impressive with Walsh, Oates, Staggs, Farnworth, and Cobbo. That for me is one of the best in the comp. Like I'm not gonna lie, that's one of the best in the comp if they all play to their potential. Now I know that some of them have had some slip ups, like Staggs in the past. Walsh has some slip ups with form, and I think depending on how Cobbo goes, you see with the whole Walters thing, yeah, that could be a distraction too. But I wouldn't think so anyway. But yeah, no, that's a real strength in my opinion, because I can see a lot of points coming through that back five, and Mam and Reynolds as a halves are pretty strong as well. I can only see Mam getting better, so I think they are building a very solid side, and I think it's going to be a very tough one to beat if they're on, you know. So I think for me, their strengths are their forward pack and probably their back five, which can score a lot of points. Now on to the club's weaknesses for 2023. It's hard to really put into context, really, because I think when you look at that team on a footy field and looking for the squad, like, it's not that bad. Like, I can't really see much weaknesses apart from their hooker, like I've already mentioned. Like, I think that, you know, Walters at hooker is not going to work long term. And, like, even though I like Moser and I think Corey Paix has potential to be a starting hooker as well, they're still very young and none of them have proven a lot, you know, first grade before. So it's really like, is that inexperience going to kick in when they do start playing a bit more games in first grade and in that hooker position as well, which is so vital. Like, that's another thing for me. Their depth with experience is not that great there, but I think that they're all players with potential. Like, I think Moser will be there eventually, but yeah, I guess it's a vital position, and I don't know if they're experienced enough to handle the workload there. But I might be wrong. I hope I am. But other than that, I think they're lucky because there's not too much weaknesses there, apart from maybe the commentary by Cobbo on Walters and how that affects the rest of the team. But I believe they've moved on from that, so they should already by now. But, you know, I think the biggest one for me has to be, like, their culture and just how they go about things off field, because I don't, like I said in my ladder prediction video, I don't think the Broncos are struggling because of talent. They're struggling because of culture, and that sort of, I think, is a big thing for any club to be successful, you know, because you need to have good culture and a good sort of platform to be anywhere near the finals or just be successful overall. So I think with the Broncos, like, they've got to have some sort of look at their culture and look at their sort of, you know, like, look at their roots basically, and sort of just look at that and use that history from the past as a bit more of a motivation and a bit more care, I think. And what the players are doing, well, some of them anyway, it's not really reflecting any of that. Like, for example, TC Rabati looks set to be sacked. I don't know how true that is, and I'll make a video if it does happen as well, because that's just some crazy stuff if he gets sacked for 2 offences in the space of December to January, which is not even far at all. Obviously, I won't talk about that, what he's done, but yeah, look, he's obviously done some bad things, and if he gets sacked, well, it's on him, and you can't blame anyone but himself for that situation if it does happen. But look, it's obviously a big one for the Broncos, is their culture and their behaviour, so I think that's a big thing. And with them still being a relatively young side, it's going to be challenging if they can pull their heads in and stop doing some silly things. So yeah, we'll see how they handle it, I guess, across the season, but that's a big one. They've got to fix that fast. Okay, on to the club's biggest signing for 2023, and obviously it's interesting because it just signed Martin DePau just recently as well. So he was the latest signing, and then the others were just Jock Madden and Reece Walsh previously. But without a doubt, the biggest signing for the club has to be Reece Walsh for 2023. I think Walsh, you know, being back in a familiar environment at the Broncos will benefit his game, and being around some guys he's actually grown up with as well, like growing up with playing footy or being at school with them at Keebra Park, I'm pretty sure. So he'll be very familiar with all that as well. So that's going to give him confidence and help him on the footy field, I think, being around those players he's played with before, and he's been at Broncos before as well during the juniors and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be really familiar for him, and he'll like it. He'll like being back there for sure. He may he may have a big season. I think he will. Obviously, his form wasn't up to standard last year with the Warriors, though. Obviously, his defense for me was the biggest worry about his game because he didn't position himself well and didn't really. No, he didn't cover too well, did he? But to be fair, he was having issues at the time with, like, I guess, where where his future will lie, like whether he'll be in New Zealand or home in Brisbane. So I guess that may have played a part, but you can't do too much when the whole Warriors team was underperforming as well. So that's not all on Walsh's fault there. So yeah, to cut some slack, it wasn't all Walsh's fault, but obviously he has to have a big season this year though. But yeah, look, Reece Walsh for me is their biggest signing. Obviously, I think he'll be a great pickup. I can't go past him as being the club's best signing, so I'm expecting big things from Reece Walsh. I'm sure Walters and the whole coaching staff are expecting the same. So if Walsh can pull his head in and if he can really show, because he's displayed before his love for the Broncos. Like even when he was at the Warriors, he was saying he always caught up with the Broncos games and still loves the club to this day. Well, if that's the case, Walsh needs to prove his love and his passion for the Broncos on the footy field. And if he does, well, it's going to be a fantastic year ahead. So Reece Walsh for me is no doubt the Broncos' biggest signing for this year. And now onto the club's worst loss for 2023. So they've had a couple of departures heading to this year. Like, yeah, it's a good bucket load of them. But I think if you're to narrow it down to one, I was in two minds about this one because I was thinking either Tim Murray-Martin or Zach Hosking. But I think the biggest loss for me would have to be Zach Hosking because I believe he had potential to be a fantastic back rower for the Broncos. There were even times during last season where everyone said they should be starting over Jordan Ricky. So that says a lot. But I think Zach Hosking will be a big loss just because he'll get better at Penrith, I reckon. Like, when he's at Penrith in a good system like that, his game from now, where it was so good at Broncos, will just get even better at the Panthers. Like, can you imagine his progress there? So I think if he develops into a fine player at Penrith, then yeah, it might be one they'll regret, but can't keep everyone. So I think Zach Hosking will be probably the biggest loss, but it's not a terribly big loss because they've already had other options there, and like he's replaceable anyway. So it's not like a major loss, but it's probably the biggest loss out of everyone that they've lost. I think Tim Murray-Martin's a bit of a loss as well, only because he had a good comeback season from that brain bleed injury, obviously. So I think with Tim Murray-Martin, he's replaced by Ezra Mam now, but what he did last year was pretty good, so I guess I'll miss a bit of that. But look, I think they're not going to struggle too much with who they've lost. I think they're done all right with recruiting and replacing their losses. Now, with the new segment added to my season previews now, I'm going to give my top 5 Broncos games that I'm looking forward to for them in the coming season ahead. So, look, not everyone's going to agree with what I pick here, but just looking at their draw quickly before, I just think that these are the 5 games that stand out to me anyway. So I think round 4 against the Dolphins, it's their first time playing against each other. They're supposed rivals, so if they are actually rivals, it's going to be interesting, and I think that there will be anyway because of what's been happening and what we've been reading. So I think that's going to be a big game regardless because of all the hype and Wayne Bennett against his old club, and then you see all this player poaching between the two clubs as well. So I think that's going to be a massive game round 4, Broncos and Dolphins. Then obviously the next one for me would be Magic Round, where Manly take on Broncos, only because of Anthony Seibold and his situation, of how it all sort of happened at the Broncos, and he returns to Suncorp and returns against his old club. So, look, it's going to probably take over the whole headline of what Magic Round's supposed to be, but whatever. It's going to be a massive game nonetheless. So, yeah, Manly versus Broncos because of Seibold will be big. Number 3, I think the Broncos, I'm not sure what round it is, but Broncos Warriors at McLean Park. I think that's going to be a great game. Like at McLean Park, I'm pretty sure that's a small place in New Zealand where they're showing a bit more sort of support and I guess expanding the game out there. So that'll be a nice sort of thing to do, nice initiative. And it'd be Reece Walsh against his former club too, like Walsh against the Warriors. I've no doubt some Warriors fans would be filthy, but you can't be that filthy only because he left because of family reasons and stuff, and he had issues. But look, that's going to be a big game because Broncos and Warriors have had some history now, so I think that's going to be a good game. Number 4, I think the one where I'm pretty sure this is their first game at the Gabba against the Dolphins, I think. It's either Dolphins, Eels, or Roosters. But from what I was looking at, was the Dolphins, their first game at the Gabba. So I think their first game at the Gabba in general will be a big one because, they've never played there before. And obviously it's never been used as an NRL ground. It's only been used as an AFL ground always, or cricket as well. So I think the Gabba game for the Broncos will be massive. And then the last one for me will be the Broncos and Bulldogs game at Belmore. Like that's gonna be a pretty interesting game as well because both sides are hyped up with how they're building towards a new season. So I think being at Belmore too, like it's gonna be a pretty cracking game. So they're my top 5 games for the Brisbane Broncos in 2023. Now onto the player that has to step up the most in 2023. Now there's so many you can pick from with the Broncos. Like I feel like there's a good variety of players you can probably say that this one needs to step up or this one needs to show a bit more initiative in their game, etc. But look, not everyone's going to agree with this one. I think everyone's going to sort of lose it when I say it, but I think Adam Reynolds is the player that needs to step up the most, if I'm being honest. Like, I know he had some good moments last year and still sort of carried the side through some games, I thought, but the season drop off was a bit of a concern. And while he was still playing in those games, like, I just think as the captain and as the halfback who's already won a premiership and is playing 2 grand finals, I think with Reynolds, his second year at the Broncos needs to be a good one, because I think in the first year everyone was expecting the Broncos to soar up the top of the ladder pretty much and become this great side, but they still had some issues that were lingering around. So I think with Reynolds, it's his second year at the Broncos now, and I think this year has to be a big year. I know he's getting older and his injuries don't seem to be going away anytime soon, but either way, he was supposed to be the next big thing and next big signing. So I think, if anything, he's the one that needs to have a big season, and I think he will if they're going to make the top 6 like I've already predicted. So Reynolds for me needs to step up a bit more as a captain, as the halfback, but not the only one, because I think guys like Walsh needs to step up after a disappointing year last year. Ezra Mann needs to show that he can keep his good form consistently into the second year of his NRL journey, so doesn't have to display. So yeah, it doesn't have he needs to prove that he can't display second year syndrome, because we've seen it with so many rookies already, and I hope Mam doesn't become the victim of that. But yeah, look, I think Reynolds is the captain, he's the halfback, and he needs to have a big year Broncos to achieve any success. Now on to the final part, my prediction for the Broncos in 2023. Now, if you watch my ladder prediction, you already see where I did have the Broncos, but in case those that didn't see who I had on my ladder and where I had the Broncos finishing, I had the Broncos finishing 6 in 2023, but it's such a risky one because the Broncos for me are so inconsistent still, and it can really just defy it can really defy their season with their consistency. And I guess just if they still have the confidence after dropping off at the back end of last year. So there's a lot of question marks for the Broncos, but you can't tell me that their back 5, their forward pack, and Reynolds and Walsh, Cobbo, and all these players cannot take them at least near 10th to maybe 6th, 5th. I think they'll finish around that range personally, if they get it right. So, Kevin Walters is under pressure, but he won't be sacked because he has massive support of the board and the old boys there, so you don't have to worry about your position that much, Kevy. But as for the Broncos and where they'll finish, I believe 6 is their position. But I did that last year as well, and look what happened. So I'm a bit worried, but I think they'll come 6 if they can play off their potential that they're expected to. But everyone, that brings the end to my 2023 Broncos season preview. I hope you all enjoyed. The Canberra Raiders one will be out tomorrow, so look out for that one. But anyways, everyone, thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment what your thoughts are on the Broncos season ahead and where you think they'll come. But anyways, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.